Chamath has set his sights on everything from cryptocurrencies to ETFs. We had a lot of ground to cover. Day traders, hedge funds, and the GameStop moment. How Chamath made his first $10 billion. The next frontiers for social capital. His political ambitions in California and beyond.
So for those who don't know who Shemath is, he's widely regarded as one of the greatest venture capitalists. Here you can see him with Richard Branson as he helped Virgin Galactic go public via his investment firm.
I mean, I was the one that backed up the truck in 2012 on Bitcoin. 2014 and 15 in Amazon, 2015 in Tesla. These SPACs are doing well. I can be a little judgmental at times, but I'm a good decision maker. And I think I know where the world's roughly going. And I want to translate that. I've made enough money for myself. It doesn't really float my boat. I do it as a demarcation of success and to keep the pressure on. But the best pressure for me was if I, was an instrument that retail, normal, ordinary folks could use to close the inequality gap for themselves.
One of the things Buffett did was effectively hold forever, right? Put his permanent capital to work and almost never sold. Is that you as well? Is the money that you have in, whether it's Virgin Galactic or Clover Health or Open Door or SoFi, permanent capital that you're never taking out?
Yes, but with an asterisk. Buffett became a billionaire at 58. I, because of Facebook, quite honestly, got extremely lucky in my early 30s. But this last decade has been training. And, these last few years now, I'm really on the field. I got my pads on and I feel like I can play as good as anybody else. But the reality is all of the things I want to do vastly outweighs the capital that I have. Probably I'm, running $10+ billion, 10, 15 billion. I don't know the exact number, to be completely honest, I should. But I am risk on, and I am moving a lot of balls down the field, myself and my team. And the reality is that those things sometimes consume capital. So at the end of last year, my family office called and said, "Hey, dummy, you need to put a little bit of money here just to make sure that we have liquidity and we can keep doing all these things." And so I had to sell, a couple million shares of Virgin. I didn't want to. I haven't sold a single share of anything that I've done in the SPAC platform, in the pipes, other than those few million shares of Virgin. So if given my druthers, Eric, and if I could really just go for it, I wouldn't sell a share of anything I buy because I believe in it. But every now and then I run up into liquidity constraints like everybody else, and I get a call and they say, "Chamath, stop, slow down." And I say, "No." And then they say, "Okay, then at least give us a little buffer here so that we can continue to do all the things you want."
Is the $10 to $15 billion you're marshaling, is that money inside social capital, or is that in total? Does that include what you're doing in your family office and personal holdings that you may have in, say, Bitcoin or Tesla or Amazon or Facebook or whatever?
I know it's like the totality of everything, but it's like sloshing around in a bunch of LLC. This is the thing, social capital is more of a name, meaning, is it an entity? Yeah, technically there's a company with the name social capital on it, but everything is flowed through a Byzantine bunch of LLCs and this and that I personally own. This is why, part of the work now that I have to do this year is reorganize myself. So, Social Capital 1.0 was a traditional set of venture funds called Social Capital. Social Capital 2.0 is basically my family office. And for Social Capital 3.0 to become a reality, which I would like to do in the next couple of years, I have to do some cleanup work. And again, this is sort of like, when the music's on, you have to be dancing. And so I haven't had time to do that because, I see opportunities and I want to seize them and I want to invest, thinking that I'll just come back and clean up whatever organizational mess is created afterwards at some point.
And this Social Capital 3.0 would be a public company?
That's my ambition. I think that I want to be held accountable to folks. I want to, I've learned that, I make better decisions when I am authentic and transparent. And so the best way to do that is just to be living my life out for everybody to see, my professional business life. And so I like the idea of the transparency of the public markets. I love the idea of having investor calls, having an analyst day, teaching people, learning from people, having a yearly thing that Buffett does. I would want to do our own. It won't be as grandiose or as big, but maybe it will in 30 or 40 years. And so, I want to do those things. And look, I'm going to work until I'm 65. And so between now and 65, that's the goal. And, to be honest with you, I don't have a very high regard for money. And I don't know Mr. Buffett to really tell you what he thinks about it, but I grew up with nothing. I'm going to die with nothing. And this is purely an instrument that I can use to put the foot on the gas. So I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. Today, for all the ballyhoo talk about climate change, China controls 80% of lithium-ion battery production. And so to the extent that we ever get into a geopolitical posture where China decides to slow down the progress of the United States, one of the ways in which it can do it is just to basically slow the trickle of the critical inputs and precursors that we need to make batteries. No batteries, guess what, Eric? No climate change. And so, that's an area that I'm going to invest in, and that's an area I'm going to go for it. Is it risky? Yeah. Will it cost several $1 billion? Probably more. Could it fail? I think if we think through it from first principles, I think it has a very high degree chance of being successful. But I'm going to make a huge bet. And so I'm willing to take the product risk. So in that way, I think I could be different.
Give me a sense, Chamath, of what the reorganization involves. What's going to go into this holding company? What businesses or activities are you operating currently out of Social Capital 2.0 that will end up in 3.0?
So obviously we have our SPAC business, and that's an incredibly great machine. Between Credit Suisse, Skadden Arps, Connaught, Social Capital, head of Sophia. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is like the all-star team. I mean, it's like, 1992 Barcelona Olympics, Team USA. It feels, these guys are just such pros. And so it's an honor to work with them. So that whole platform. I do have an aspiration to cut and paste and do an equivalent platform solely focused on biotech, because I think that that's a very different risk profile. Smaller deal sizes, but you can expect me to explore that. I think that ETFs are something that have always intrigued me. Then we have a bunch of businesses where we own and operate. We started an insurance company, next generation AI machine learning insurance business that's writing some very complicated reinsurance products around, cat risk and pandemic risk and cyber risk. I'm really excited by that. We have 2 healthcare companies. We have an enterprise software business that is doing something very unique. And so, there'll be a bunch of those assets.
You've said, Chamath, you were a billionaire by the time you were in your early 30s. Do you have any idea what you're worth today?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I probably should, but I don't. I have a rough sense, highs, I think it's, I think I just told you it's kind of probably in the 10 to 20-ish.
North of 10. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to quote one of your all-time most popular tweets. When Bitcoin gets to 150,000, I'll buy the Hamptons and convert it to a sleepaway camp for kids, working farms, and low-cost housing. What inspired you to write that one?
Well, I can't take all the credit. Friends of mine and I, we have a little group chat, and we were just talking about random things for the summer, in the hope that the pandemic eases. And one of my friends, Rob Goldberg, actually was the one that said champions. And it just kind of like set off a light bulb. And then I just wrote it and I kind of published it. It's very tongue in cheek. I did another one which said, like, I think when Bitcoin gets to 40,000 or 100,000, I'm going to buy Goldman Sachs and rename it Chamath Sachs. These are all jokes. This is the part of my personality that some folks don't get, which is this is just tongue in cheek. It's just, honestly, I never thought I'd be here. I'm enjoying the ride. Every minute of this feels like a complete dream to me.
I admire you for not taking yourself too seriously. The Bitcoin thing, however, is very serious.
Yeah.
North of $40,000. So it's not 150. You can't buy the Hamptons yet. It's not 100. You can't buy Goldman Sachs yet. But
can I tell you something about Bitcoin, which is so important? So I think Bitcoin is very important because it just shows the fragility of, the traditional financial infrastructure. And if you just look at the quantity and the size of like the M2 money supply as an example, the real question that I think people should be asking ourselves is, okay, if Bitcoin becomes a de facto reserve currency that basically displaces gold, what replaces the US dollar? And here's where, if you want to just bear with me for a second, it's not Bitcoin that replaces the US dollar. It is a stable coin. And what does all of that mean? In less fancy language, there are companies around the world that are replacing one fixed US dollar with one digital token of a US dollar. And by simply making that small abstraction, they're able to completely build financial rails that didn't exist before. On-ramps and off-ramps to trading, to asset management, to banking, to payments processing. There's a revolution happening. It's not felt as much in the United States because people don't see it because the financial services infrastructure is so robust. But when you look in the developing world, and if you look in any market where there is any form of currency manipulation or currency instability, that's the future. And so, Bitcoin is a canary in a coal mine for a completely virtual, largely anonymous, and we can debate whether that's good or not, financial reality. And so, I think that it's a very important trend that's worth understanding. The other thing is, so many of the dislocations that we've seen won't happen anymore when we go on those rails. So, going back to this whole GameStop debacle, as I've learned more, and as you probably know now too, a lot of this has to do with the arcane way in which stocks are settled. And what I learned was we used to have a T+3, after the trading day, 3 days later is when you'd settle. And it was moving heaven and earth, crying and screaming to move companies to go to T+2. Well, if you're running a stable coin or, smart contracts on top of Ethereum, all of this next generation infrastructure, this is T+0, right? You're settling things in a nanosecond. And that's really good for everybody.
in addition to Bitcoin, which coins, if you will, cryptocurrencies, digital assets, are you a holder of? Are you a believer in?
Well, I will be publishing this soon. I am building a fairly sizable portfolio of what are called NFTs, non-fungible tokens, some digital art, some virtual trading cards. And these may sound crazy to some, but I do think that that's the next frontier of digital currency and digital assets. And so I have been building a portfolio. My decision is the team and I will announce it. We will publicize everything we own, and we will make our holdings transparent so that folks can track along and see as we buy and sell things. So that's coming in a few months. I'm not really ready to show the details of exactly what we hold yet, but I'm really excited. Maybe in a few weeks, actually, but I'm very excited. We're almost ready to tell the world.
If you guys haven't joined the investing family yet, why not consider joining by clicking that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on. You guys have a tremendous day. I have so much love for you guys, continuing to support this channel, continuing to gain value from this channel each and every day. So please do comment those thoughts below, and I'll see you in my next video. Invest safe.